support of the amendment that Lord Teverson has tabled this evening. And before I say anything further, I should bring the attention of your Lordship's House to the interests I have declared in the Register. I'm the chairman of the Nuclear Industry Association here in the United Kingdom. I don't think there's any doubt at all that membership of the Euratom Treaty has brought very significant benefits to the UK nuclear industry, and in doing so has served some pretty vital strategic interests of our country. And unlike membership of the European Union itself, which remains a polarising and deeply divisive issue in our country, I haven't heard anyone mount any argument at all, ever, at any point in this process, in favour of leaving the Euratom Treaty. And I get the very strong sense that the position of Her Majesty's government has come very much late in this process, having looked at the way that these two treaties have become intertwined in recent decades. The Attorney General, giving advice to the Cabinet, has clearly favoured separation entirely. So as we leave the European Union, we face this rather grim and desperate situation where we might find ourselves without any internationally recognised nuclear safeguards operating in the UK. And as Lord Teverson has rightly said, if we were to find ourselves in that position, it would not be comparable to, for example, other aspects of the UK economy. So if we leave only on WTO terms, clearly trade would continue. In the international nature of the nuclear industry, that would not be so. If we were to leave without having these alternative arrangements in place, it would not be possible for companies in the United States, Canada, Japan, India, South Korea, many of our nuclear allies, and not least our European friends and partners, to continue to trade with us in nuclear goods and services. Now, I think we tend to exaggerate for a living in this House. We can't help ourselves, bless us. We're former politicians, many of us. But this would be a catastrophe for the industry, and I don't think we should be under any illusion about that. Now, my understanding is that the government have come to the view that we need to disentangle ourselves from Euratom, as well as the institutions of the European Union, for that very simple reason that over time they have become inextricably linked together. And given that the government's two objectives in this process of leaving the European Union seem to be absolutely to end the jurisdiction of the European Court and to end the free movement of labour, I perfectly do understand the government's position. But I think in the strict context of looking at the Euratom Treaty and its relationship to the European Union treaties, I think we need to be clear about two things. This would only give a very limited jurisdiction if we were to stay in Euratom for some indeterminate period until we can negotiate these alternative arrangements. The ECJ would have a very limited jurisdiction, specifically to deal with these nuclear goods and services issues. And if we think that we should do, that the nuclear industry is an international trade by its very nature and definition, and is absolutely pieced together and hung together by international agreements, it is no great breach of principle or faith to accept that the ECJ should, for a period of time, have a continuing jurisdiction in these matters. I don't think that will bring the House down. And for members of this House and outside who are worried about the free movement of labour, again, we should remind ourselves in the context of the Euratom Treaty, the free movement of labour applies only to nuclear specialists working in nuclear installations. So we do not need to fear, in my view, some backdoor invasion of mass migration because we remain for some longer period of time a member of the Euratom Treaty. I think today it would be very good to know. So I'm clearly arguing that we should take our time before we actually leave the Euratom Treaty. And I do not believe there's any legal case, certainly no economic or political case, for linking the process of leaving the European Union with the process of leaving the Euratom Treaty. I simply don't accept that. And I would like to know today, if it is possible, some clarification from the Minister, for example, about what conversations Her Majesty's government have already had with the European Atomic Energy Commission to explore the possibility of what a transitional arrangement might look like. Because I think a lot does depend on getting this right. And is it the government's case that they intend to serve notice to leave the Euratom Treaty at the same time as leaving the European Union? I do not believe, and Lord Teverson has made this point clearly himself, there is any compelling legal case or reason why these two processes have to be conducted simultaneously. And I believe he was absolutely right to say to this House that we are going to make the job of leaving the European Union 10 times more difficult if we compress into that 2-year period, not just the enormous complexity of dealing with the European Union disengagement process and all that that means, but we have to renegotiate simultaneously maybe 20 international nuclear cooperation agreements, replicate and devise in the UK a new system of nuclear installation inspection and safeguarding, and secure the nuclear fuels that our current fleet and our future fleet are going to need to rely on in the future, because those are all the matters covered today by the Euratom Treaty, and perfectly sensibly. So, my Lords, I really do not believe the government are doing this because they want to leave the Euratom Treaty. I believe they're doing it because they feel they have no other choice. I think there is a choice that they have, which is to take their time on this, make sure that there is no cliff edge when we leave, because the consequences of leaving without these alternative arrangements in place would really be so serious for the nuclear industry as to raise a genuine question mark about its future in this country.
My Lord.